The rain fell endlessly that night. It poured down on rooftops, coursed through alleyways, and sang against the windows of the city. For most, it was just another storm. But for Adrian, it was the kind of storm that carried ghosts. He locked up the repair shop later than usual, exhaustion pulling at his shoulders. His father was gone now, and every wrench, every oil stain, every bill reminded him that he was alone. He pulled his jacket tighter as he stepped into the downpour, his boots splashing against puddles. And then he saw her. At the bus stop, beneath a flickering street lamp, stood a woman. Rain plastered her hair to her face, her suitcase by her feet. She wasn't sheltering, wasn't moving, just waiting. Something in Adrian's chest clenched. His eyes narrowed, and he almost walked past. But then, she turned. Elara? Her name tasted like lightning on his tongue. She looked up startled, and her lips parted. For a heartbeat, Adrian swore time shattered around them. The world was louder, brighter, more unbearable. Adrian! Her voice was soft, yet it carried years. Years of silence. Years of distance. He didn't move. He couldn't. He only stared at her, at the woman who had once been the girl with red shoes and laughter like bells. She was different now, older, polished, someone who had seen the world. But in her eyes, he still found the same storm that had always lived there. "You came back," he said at last, his voice strained. "I had to." She smiled weakly, tears mixing with the rain. They walked together in silence. Their footsteps echoed down familiar streets, past the noodle shop where they once shared bowls, past the fountain where they made wishes, past the corner store that had sold them candy for pennies. Each step was a memory tugging at them. Adrian's fists were buried in his pockets. He wanted to ask 1,000 questions, but none felt safe. He was terrified that if he spoke, she would vanish again. Finally, they reached the rooftop. The old stairwell creaked under their weight. The air smelled faintly of mildew. And when they pushed open the rusted door, the rooftop spread before them as though nothing had changed. Cracks still spider-webbed across the concrete. Laundry lines still swayed in the stormy wind. The city below still glittered, unaware. Elara walked to the center, dropping her suitcase. She closed her eyes and tilted her head back, letting the rain wash over her. Adrian leaned against the wall, arms crossed, trying to protect himself with distance. But his eyes never left her. "Do you ever come up here anymore?" she asked softly. "Sometimes, when it's quiet." "Did you name the clouds without me?" He almost smiled. Almost. "Every time." Her laughter was wet with tears. "I knew you would." For a moment, silence stretched. Only the rain spoke, pattering against concrete and cloth. Finally, Elara whispered at last, "I wanted to write to you. I wanted to, every night. I even wrote letters, dozens, but I couldn't send them." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Why not?" "Because I was afraid," she admitted. "Afraid you'd moved on. Afraid you didn't need me anymore. Afraid I'd opened the wound wider by reminding you I still existed." He turned away, blinking hard against the ache behind his eyes. "You thought I could forget you that easily?" Her hand trembled as she reached for him. "Didn't you hate me for leaving?" Adrian didn't answer. Instead, he dug into his backpack and pulled out a small, worn shoebox. He set it between them, the cardboard softened from years of being opened and closed. She frowned, confused. then lifted the lid. Inside were her sketches, pages she had once thrown away, doodles of castles, gowns, dragons, and clouds. Her breath caught. "You kept them." She couldn't. "Everyone," Adrian said quietly, his voice cracked. "Even when you left." Her tears spilled freely now. She pressed a trembling hand over her mouth. "Adrian, I thought you forgot me forever." "You almost did," he whispered. His chest ached as he admitted, "But I never stopped waiting." She reached across the shoebox and took his hand, cold and trembling. For years they had lived oceans apart, but in that moment, the distance collapsed. "Elara," he said softly, eyes locked on hers. "Why did you come back?" Her lips quivered. "Because no matter how far I went, no matter how many lights I stood under, the sky was never the same without you." For the first time in years, Adrian allowed himself to breathe her in, to feel her close, to imagine that forever wasn't lost. Their foreheads touched, and the rain softened into a mist around them. It should have been enough, but the city never allows delicate stories to rest. Adrian's eyes fell to her suitcase. He noticed the airline tags, the Paris address, and the crumpled invitation sticking out of the side pocket. His stomach tightened. "Elara," he murmured, pulling back slightly. "How long are you staying?" She froze. Her hand slipped from his. "Elara?" His voice sharpened, desperate. She hesitated, her lips trembling, and then whispered the words he feared most. "Not long." Adrian's chest collapsed. The rain fell harder again, washing the rooftop, drowning out the silence between them. And in that silence, a truth settled like thunder. Their story was far from over, but forever had never been so fragile. Stay tuned for part 3.